Is it possible for a striker who has the worst shooting possible to win the Ballon d'Or on Football Manager? Well, this is Kante Schutt, a professional football player just come through the Coventry Youth Academy, and he is a great player. However, he is adamant that he wants to play up front, despite his finishing, his long shots, free kicks and penalties all being 1 out of 20, and yet he has aspirations to win the Ballon d'Or.
Are you sure about that?
So here is how I'm going to help him. For every 25 goals or more that he scores per season, I'm going to increase his current ability by 10 without increasing any of the finishing attributes. And I've also agreed that for every season where he doesn't get at least 20 starts, I have the ability to transfer him to a new club to get those starts. In Season 1, however, despite bursting onto the scene at Coventry, we didn't have to worry about starts. Frank Lampard, the Coventry City manager, started him 43 times, and much to the surprise of everybody who had seen Kante Schutt in training, he scored a lot of goals too. What he couldn't do, however, was take them into the playoffs in the Championship. But he did significantly reduce the time lonely Matisse Tell played up front when Kante was fit and available. What he also managed to do was get an England cap at aged 18, which is rather impressive considering his finishing ability is absolutely terrible, and this season alone got 27 goals in the Championship, which is very good indeed, and actually won the Golden Boot. So far, very good for Kante Schutt, because he's pretty much the best striker in the league. Obviously, we're looking at things like his physical attributes really helping him out, but the fact that he cannot hit a long shot, he cannot finish at all, he cannot take free kicks or take penalties, I think this is a really good start. And this is obviously going to mean that we're going to up his current ability from what is now 138 to 148. So here he is with his upgrade, but still no progress to the shooting attribute, as that's staying as low as it could possibly be. And season number 2, you just gotta hope that he picks up where he left off, and that Coventry can turn a few of those draws and losses into wins, potentially reaching the playoffs. Even though his finishing absolutely sucks though, Kante scored some banging goals. It wasn't enough for the Golden Boot in the Championship this season or for the playoffs, as Coventry dropped down into 7th place on the final day of the season. Kante played his part though, scoring 29 goals in the Championship alone, earning himself yet another upgrade. This now takes him to 158 current ability, and to become one of the most athletic and smartest players on the planet. It's just technically, well, he can't finish. That hasn't been stopping him previously though, so I was excited to see what he could do the following season, and that's where things came to a halt. The Coventry manager Ishmael was sacked in November after bad form, but the man who came in to replace him couldn't do much better, and he was also sacked the same season in April, leaving Coventry in a precarious position where they were unable to save themselves from the drop, being relegated in 22nd place from the Championship. Not only that, but Kante Schutt was unhappy, and he wanted to leave the club after only scoring 17 goals from his 20.6 XG. His move didn't happen immediately though. That summer he stayed at Coventry, reluctantly unfortunately, and played up until January in League One. But that's when £44 million was spent from Wolves to obtain his services. And that was a lot of money to spend for a team that was recently down in the Championship, and he didn't score a goal until the final day of the season, where again he was relegated back down to the Championship. Now it's kind of harsh. He got brought by Michael Scibola of Wolves and never really stood a chance playing for them, to be honest, because he only played 8 times. They were 8 starts, but only scored 1 goal, and he hasn't exactly lit up the Premier League when he's come on the pitch either, with a 6.43 average rating. He did in League One score 13 goals, and up to January he was probably on course to reach that 25 goal season. But we cannot transfer him because although he only started 8 games for Wolves, he did start 22 for Coventry, which means he'll have to go another season playing for Wolves. I cannot transfer him this season. Nor could I transfer him the following summer because he was Wolves' highest rated player, starting 45 of their current games next season. He once again failed to score 25 goals or more though, so for now we'll stay at 158 current ability for another season. He will once again be tasting Premier League football though, as Wolves gain promotion back as champions. Now, there's a lot of FM26 mods, including new FM26 skins that you might be wanting to download, but you just need to make sure that you're being careful online. And NordVPN is the easiest and safest way to make sure you're doing that with your IP address being protected while browsing online. With just a click of the button, you can change your digital location right from your home or wherever you currently are, which of course gives you the added extra benefits that you get for using certain websites which are now asking for your personal identification to be submitted in certain countries. But NordVPN does way more than that, including the threat protection feature, which works as an antivirus tool, blocking scams and phishing attacks, as well as preventing websites from tracking and stealing your information. And for me, in a 1 week span alone, NordVPN blocked 352 ads and 500 websites from collecting my personal data. And just like everything with Nord, it's super easy to toggle this protection on, as well as see the different websites that it's blocked. NordVPN can also constantly monitor the dark web for up to 5 email addresses to ensure that you don't have any of your passwords leaked as well. But of course, the fun part of NordVPN is being able to watch regional-based content wherever you are in the world. For instance, your football team might be playing a 3 o'clock kickoff that you want to watch. And you may be surprised at the value for money that you can get with a NordVPN package when you select a 2-year plan. But with my link at the top of the description, or if you just head to nordvpn.com/OmegaLoopGaming, you get yourself an extra 4 months on top of that 2-year plan. And I'm just here being your internet daddy, making sure that you are fully protected. All things considered, Wolves did quite well, finishing in 11th place in their first season back in the Premier League, especially because they sold Kante Schutt to Chelsea in January for £68 million after he had already scored 17 goals in the first half of the Premier League campaign. Unfortunately for Kante Schutt, Chelsea manager Leonardo Jardim adopts a one-striker formation where he has to share the minutes with the beast Samu, who's one of my favourite strikers. It would mean he would also be playing Champions League football this season though, after they finished in 4th place. He had already played and scored in the Europa League as Chelsea were eliminated by Robbie Keane's Monaco in the quarter-finals 5-4 in aggregate. With the 26 goals scored this season too, Kante was due another upgrade finally, which now takes him up to 168 for the following season, fitting for a Champions League campaign. And although it was a round of 16 exit in that UEFA Champions League, Chelsea were cooking, as Leonardo Jardim took them to the top of the Premier League to lift the trophy, picking up the double, winning the Carabao Cup as well, but losing in extra time in the FA Cup final to Liverpool. But of course, the bigger question is, did Kante Schutt play enough games with Samu in the squad? And if he did, how many goals did he bag? Well, the good thing is that with the amount of games that Chelsea played this season, there were plenty of opportunity for minutes. And our boy Kante took that opportunity. Because despite only starting 19 of the Premier League games, he still started 39 games in total and made 17 appearances off the bench, scoring 26 goals. And we all know what that means. It's getting another upgrade. And so with another few increases here and there, we are now looking at a 178 current ability striker who still can't shoot. Now, one thing we haven't looked at yet is the Ballon d'Or itself. We never really expected Kante to win it at this point anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant, but let's just have a quick gander at who has been winning it, because there's been one name who has won it 3 seasons in a row, and that man is Erling Haaland, who's won 3 on the bounce at Manchester City after Kylian Mbappe picked it up in the first year. Kylian Mbappe won it back there, but now it's gone to another Manchester City player and former Real Madrid player, Vinicius Jr., who is 30 years of age. So to win the Ballon d'Or, he's going to have to overcome some of the biggest names in world football, as expected. And of course, he's not playing at that club. Erling Haaland also isn't playing at Manchester City anymore. He's moved to Bayern Munich. I love the randomness. £197 million. Could Kante live up to his value though, and the standards that a striker like Erling Haaland holds with his fresh new upgrade? Well, this season, Chelsea's drop off to the title pace, finishing 8 points behind champions Liverpool. They did, however, lift the FA Cup, beating Arsenal 3-0. But despite having more Premier League goals this season than the last 2, overall he only managed 20 goals, which means there's no upgrade. And as expected, no Ballon d'Or either. We kind of all know that to win a Ballon d'Or, you really need to have like a dominant season. Winning the league and having a good amount of goals is just not going to cut it. You kind of need to dominate and especially look at winning that Champions League, which is probably why Manchester City players like Jude Bellingham is winning it, for instance. But I don't know whether Kante Schutt can get to those levels. That's what we're here to find out. If you enjoy experiments just like this, make sure you subscribe and put any suggestions you have down in the comments. The following season was a tragic one for Chelsea fans. Despite Kante having a good season himself, Chelsea ended the season trophyless and managerless. They decided to sack their manager Jardim despite his recent success the last 2 seasons because of their 5th place finish in the Premier League. And despite this, Kante was a menace this season, winning the Golden Boot and scoring 34 goals across the whole campaign, meaning it's another upgrade. The Ballon d'Or went to Bukayo Saka this season, who's also at Bayern Munich with Erling Haaland. Speaking of which, look who currently has active interest on Kante. Let's hope this doesn't happen because he just won't play. Either way, it's an upgrade time for Kante, who is now up to 188 current ability, and there's a lot of 20s in there, but still 1 for finishing, long shots, free kicks, and penalties. You would have thought that Pep Guardiola coming in as the new manager for Chelsea would have been the best case scenario for club and Kante, but it led to a 6th place finish in the Premier League and no trophy this season. Domestically anyway, because Chelsea did lift the Europa League trophy. However, despite Kante being the top scorer for Chelsea this year, he only managed to bag 22 goals through the whole campaign. Meaning there was no upgrade this year. However, Kante Schutt was recognised as the 2nd best player in the world, finishing runners-up to Real Madrid's Jude Bellingham in the Ballon d'Or vote. Meaning we could be really close for him actually winning an award with 1 for finishing. And so life under Pep Guardiola continued at Chelsea for Kante Schutt, where he at the very least had a much better time on the pitch, especially compared to the rest of his Chelsea squad, considering there was no trophies outside of the UEFA Super Cup. It was another 5th place finish in the Premier League, and yet Kante Schutt picked up the Golden Boot with 28 goals this season, meaning he's definitely getting a final upgrade, and he managed to score 33 total goals with 17 assists, making this one of his most prolific seasons. And so he got that final upgrade to 198, and there is now a powerful player in there in his prime years who still has all the terrible ability of finishing and shooting. Yet things were only just beginning because Kante Schutt was about to have some of the most prolific seasons in the Premier League that the Premier League has ever seen. 31 total goals the following season, 21 in the Premier League, where Pep Guardiola took his Chelsea team to the Champions League and went on to win it, although they played a backup striker in the final due to a very inconvenient injury that Kante picked up on the final day of the Premier League season to his hip. That didn't stop him from coming back the following season because Chelsea went through a transition. Pep Guardiola was sacked due to a poor league finish, and Marco Rose came in, taking Chelsea to back-to-back Champions League finals, where our man Kante Schutt scored a hat-trick, including 2 goals in extra time to win and lift the trophy himself this season, beating Leipzig 3 goals to 2, and it's another season where Kante Schutt scored 32 total goals as well. And it seemed like Marco Rose was the perfect manager for Kante Schutt because the numbers next year were next level, as Chelsea win the Premier League on the final day of the season because Arsenal lost 3-2 to bottom of the league and already relegated Bournemouth. Kante Schutt rose to the occasion with 41 Premier League goals alone and just 32 games for Chelsea. The following season was another great one for Kante under Marco Rose, with another Golden Boot and 39 total goals, destroying the Premier League by 13 points at the top, ahead of 2nd place Arsenal. But the big question is, has this been good enough to win a Ballon d'Or or not? And the answer is no. It was good enough to win 5 of them. 5 in a row for Kante Schutt. Unbelievable. That season where he finished behind Jude Bellingham was the last time he was in the shadow of a Real Madrid player, and he has gone on to win 5 in a row, which I am genuinely quite surprised with. I'll be honest, I didn't expect. I thought maybe with the right attributes around and a good season he could win 1 of them. I did not expect 5 of them, and I mean this even meant that he won it underneath Pep Guardiola, because Chelsea the last 5 seasons have not been that great. In the Premier League, if you're looking genuinely down the history, 1, 2, just 2 seasons ago, so 3 seasons back, they finished in 6th place. 4, they finished in 3rd. 5 was when they finished in 5th place. So they've only really had a lot of success in the last sort of like 3 seasons when they won the Champions League and the Premier League. So to see him go on and win the Ballon d'Or is a credit to what he has managed to do on the pitch. And although if we're looking at his career highlights, the goals have never been like consistently above the 30s. There's only been a couple of seasons which have got to 30 in terms of the Premier League, and outside of it, look at the assists. Every single season except this one, for the last like 7, he has got above 10 assists as well as the goals. And that's obviously his highest average rating. His average rating is really high. Last season, a ridiculous 8.15. So yes, it is indeed possible for a player with only 1 shooting ability to win the Ballon d'Or. Let me know if you want to see any more experiments just like this, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you smash a like on the video. Of course, there are still loads of things for you to watch, because on screen right now, this is my first ever Youth to Gold in FM26, where I think I built a very good team. And on the right is where you can actually scout and how to scout, and I think this video would change how you scout to find the players that I found on the left.